What's up, everybody? For those of you who don't know me, my name's Clay Harris, and behind me is what I'm calling Project Extended Cab. This is a 2019 RZR XP4 Turbo. Purchased a couple weeks ago. Say a couple weeks ago, it's more like a month ago, and I basically cut it in half. I'm here to answer a lot of questions for you guys that you keep asking me, why am I doing this? What's the purpose? I get that a lot. Every time I post something online, I get a lot of whys and why would you do this? For one, it's not for leg room. There's the seats, they are staying right where they're at. I'm not gaining any leg room. The reason why I'm doing this is because, a little backstory, last May I took my first trip to Moab, Utah. If you haven't been, I highly recommend it. It's definitely a bucket list place to ride. Anyway, we were there, got to ride with some great people, and there was a few guys that had some machines, RZRs in particular, that stood out. I saw these machines on multiple occasions. There was 2 or 3 of them that just looked different, and they were set up like this. Basically a 4-seater with 12 inches cut out. So I started asking questions. A couple guys were nice enough to kind of fill me in on what they did and how they built them, and just a few little tips if I ever was to decide to build one. Needless to say, that got my mind going. I came home and immediately started researching and looked at what it would take to build one. I currently at the time had a 2-seat XP Turbo that is now sold, and nothing wrong with that machine, just I always want something different. So this is where we ended up. The purpose is to achieve a wheelbase in between a 2-seater and a 4-seater. Yes, people have done this already in several different platforms. There is rock bouncer buggies. I'm from Kentucky, so there's a lot of rock bouncer guys in this area. Southern Rock Racing, any kind of rock racing, tube chassis. 103 to 106 inch wheelbase, some longer, some shorter. They perform great. There's desert cars out west. They have a longer wheelbase. UTV built one just like this. UTV Inc., sorry. A lot of different platforms. People have already done this. It's nothing new. I'm just doing it for myself. Anyway, this is a 4-seat chassis with 12 inches cut out of it. Basically, for those of you who don't know, the RZR chassis is bolted together in the middle, basically like a roll cage is bolted onto the frame. They have bungs. You can basically cut the bungs out on the front half of the chassis and remove 12 inches, re-weld the bungs on, and it will bolt back up. Here in just a second, I'll take the plastics off and show you guys what all I did, what kind of special fabrication work I have to do. It's really not that much work. You have to, being a 4-seater, the wiring harness is already long enough, the brake lines are already long enough, the coolant lines you have to cut and shorten and splice back together, which is not a difficult task. And basically just some common tools to cut and weld, and you can basically have this platform. Again, not doing it for leg room. The seats are staying the same. I'm going to use the area behind the seats to do a small toolbox, possibly a hard-mounted air compressor, and maybe a few other things. I haven't really decided yet. I'm kind of going with it, kind of doing it as I go. Right now, the cage is 95% done. It's all tacked together. Basically just trying to get my doors fabbed up and finished before I pull the cage off to finish weld it. Hopefully, by the end of this weekend, I'll have this thing off, finished welded, and to powder coat by middle of next week, hopefully. Basically, you can loop the wiring harnesses, you can loop the brake lines. Make sure whenever you do the brake lines to put them in a spot that they're not going to get pinched, they're not going to get burnt, they're not going to get tangled in your drive shaft. Well, what else? Like I said, it's pretty simple. I haven't put the floor pans back in it, but I think it's going to work out perfectly to where you can basically leave the middle floor pan out that's in a four-seater and basically just use the front floor pan and the rear floor pan, which the rear floor pan is where the battery goes, sits over the fuel tank. It's actually already reinstalled into the unit. I apologize, this is long-winded. I'm kind of just trying to go over everything. I'm going to kind of tell you my plans, what all I want to put on it, and everything else. So anyway, I'm going to pull the plastics off and show you guys what all I did fabrication-wise. Anyway, the door frame, you know, I fabricated a panel for the factory latches. Everything's nice and tight. Turned out really good. You know, it's clean, it's easy, and I say easy. It's just a little, you know, time, man. You just gotta make it work. But anyway, the doors turned out good. I'll pull these plastics off here to show you what all I've done. Dropped it. So here's, you know, basically where the frame bolts together. As you can see, this is where I've re-welded it. The factory frame is basically the same way. Basically, to start, you measure the center of your weld, forward 12 inches, and cut. There's 2 bungs on each side and 2 in the middle, as you can see. It's really not that hard. You know, it just takes a few tools, you know, a welder, a little bit of time, and just, you know, measure, you know, the old saying, measure twice and cut once. Well, I measured about 10 times and cut once. When you go to cutting a, you know, $18,000–$20,000 machine in half, it's kind of nerve-wracking. But really, like I said, it's not much work. I had this thing home, disassembled, cut, and re-welded in about 2 days. You can see the coolant lines there. Basically, you cut those. I put those back together with heater hose and some band clamps. I've yet to have any leaks. I'm gonna double check before I put the floor pans and the skid plates and everything back on. I don't want to deal with leaks. Wiring harness is still kind of laying in. Battery cable's temporary so I can move it. Brake lines, I've got those. It's looped under here. I'm really going to make sure before I button everything up that the brake lines are not pinched, or wiring harness either. Don't want any issues on the drive shaft or the skid plate, or, you know, just don't want to deal with those problems down the road. The regular turbo doesn't come with fang lights. I put the fang lights in. Kind of like the look, you know. Gives it that aggressive look. There's the Fox shocks with the DRS system. Like I said, it's coming together. Really happy with the outcome. You know, it's been a fun build so far, and I still got a long way to go, but like I said, I hope to have the cage off to powder coat next week, and hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll be riding this thing. But again, if you guys like what you see and want to see more updates and install videos, like and subscribe my YouTube channel, and I'll be posting stuff on Facebook. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to, don't hesitate to ask. I'm here to help. Anyways, until next time, see y'all.